Hello, this is Matt Gaskill, Philosophy 160, presenting problem 3.8.7. In this problem, we're asked if the argument is sound. The question is, or the quote is, this argument is unsound, for its conclusion is false, and no sound argument has a false conclusion. In Jeffrey's parlance, the for tells us where to look for the premises, and the conclusion is ahead of the for. So we're going to let CX mean X has a true conclusion, and SX means X is sound. To turn that statement or the argument from the question into symbology, we say it is not the case that a particular instantiation of X, it is not the case that A has a true conclusion. It is not the case that there exists X such that both X is a sound argument, and it is not the case that X has a true conclusion. And then the conclusion, it is not the case that A is sound. First thing that we do after setting up our symbolic rows is to deny the conclusion. Once we've denied the conclusion, we'll apply we'll follow the flow chart for rules of inference, which is figure 3.1 in the textbook. The first step is to, after applying the negation to the conclusion, the next step is to apply double negation to the denied conclusion and negation of the existential instantiation. And then we'll check those rows that we operated on. We'll end up with the two new rows, SA, and then the universal instantiation with the negation after the UI. We'll then go ahead and instantiate the UI with an existing name, A, apply, which creates that new row. We'll apply the De Morgan's law for the negation of conjugation. Check that row. We end up with a negated SA and a negated CA. Because we've got an SA in one row and a not SA in another row, we have a contradiction along that left path, which closes out that branch. And from the very first row, we have a not CA. And at the bottom of the right-hand branch, we have a not CA. Again, a contradiction, which closes out that right branch. So all branches are closed, which means that we have a valid argument. So the form of the argument is valid. Now we've got to go on to the question of soundness. And the way we look at this soundness is we suppose two cases. So in the first case, we suppose that the first premise, its conclusion is false, is a true statement. If that is a true statement, then the conclusion, this argument is unsound, is false, because it tells us in the premise that the conclusion is false. So if this argument is unsound is false, then this argument is sound. But in the second premise, it tells us that no sound argument has a false conclusion, which is directly contradicting what the first premise is saying. So let's look at the other case where we suppose the first premise, its conclusion is false, is a false statement. Then the conclusion, this argument is unsound, would be true, making this argument unsound. And the second premise makes no claims about unsound arguments. Therefore, the argument is unsound. If you have any questions, hit me up on Pronto. Thanks for watching.